Broadcasting from the First National Bank Tower, this is KLEKLP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council.
Good Wednesday morning, Jonesboro. This is meteorologist Tim Root with your KLEK 102.5 FM weather. A 30-40% coverage of showers and thunderstorms today. Heat advisory, you'll be in the mid-90s, and the all-important feel-like temperature 106. Warm overnight, 75 to 80 with a chance of a shower or thunderstorm. It'll be partly to mostly sunny Thursday, low 90s, and a slight chance of a cooling shower or thunderstorm. Partly to mostly sunny Friday, little if any rain, highs around 90. Jonesboro's community radio station, we're KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Sir Kim Darroch's resigned as UK ambassador to the US amid a row over leaked emails critical of President Trump. The French Defence Ministry is admitting anti-tank missiles found in Libya on a base belonging to Khalifa Haftar's troops did belong to France. For the third time in a matter of weeks, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has been seen trembling and shaking, and Ethiopia has signed an agreement with the UAE to send skilled labour there.
It's 9:01.
Community Conversations is brought to you by Arkansas Early Learning, offering no-cost childcare in Jonesboro and Northeast Arkansas. Applications at arearlylearning.org.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
KLEK-LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, good morning to you on your Wednesday. It's July 10th, 2019. This is Community Conversations. Kid Wonder is in the studio with you. I am joined by Reverend Dr. Charles Coleman and Mr. Scott McDaniel of Team Jonesboro. I'm filling in for Quabila. Quabila's a little under the weather, so we definitely ask that you keep her lifted up in prayer, but we're going to go ahead and get right into our discussion. So if you have not been keeping up with the news, Team Jonesboro is a group of local citizens in the community of Jonesboro that put forth a proposal for a 1% sales tax, with half of the sales tax going toward quality of life projects and the other half going towards police and fire. They originally presented the proposal. It went before the city council for 3 readings, and the council voted 11-1 to refer the tax to the voters, and September 10th is the special election in which you, the voters, will decide whether the tax passes or not. Of course, KLK, we do not endorse nor support or take any particular side on this issue. We're not going to tell you to vote for or against the proposal, but we are definitely going to tell you September 10th, make sure that you do step into the ballot box to make your voice known. So with that, how you doing today, gentlemen?
Good morning.
Fantastic. How y'all doing?
All right, so just kind of give everybody, I kind of gave everybody a little synopsis, but kind of give everybody a little bit more detailed update of where things are with Team Jonesboro.
Yeah, so as you said, we got our proposals passed, and so right now we are at the stage where the tax initiative will be on the ballot. That vote will happen on September the 10th. So we've entered into the campaign phase and also the education phase. There's a lot of misinformation out there about sales tax, where it goes, the rates, and so forth. And so we're trying to educate people on that and educate people on all the good this initiative will take care of.
Okay. Oh, you look like you wanted to chime in, Dr. Coleman.
Well,
I'll bend the mic down just a little bit.
I always want to chime in when something is going good happen in Jonesboro. And publicly, even being on the city council, I was for the sales tax, and I'm hoping that everybody come out and vote, mainly for 3 or 4 reasons. Number one, you related to people need to get out and vote, number one. Number 2, being a council person, I get calls all the time about what we don't have, when we're going to get this, and when we're going to get that. And right now, I think we're in a phase that if this tax is voted on by the community, which I think is one of the better things, instead of the council just trying to take over, I think it's best that the citizens voice their opinion by voting for something in order for us to be a more thriving community. you hear a lot about this statement, and I didn't really understand a lot of it myself, to the fact that our children are leaving, going other places because we don't have certain things. Concept is that we already know that we're not going to be able to buy everything that everybody wants, or the community at large when it's voted on. But at the same time, we can be equitable to the whole state of Arkansas and other states, because we have other states coming in for our basketball, for our football, for our kids programs, the soccer, those type of things. And so we need to also have the facilities, also have the entertainment for the individuals coming in. And then thirdly, probably more important, we need comfortable officers' protection at these parks, at these locations when we have individuals coming in, so we don't become just like other large cities that people come in, they're scared to come in certain places because they don't have the law enforcement. And so even as a council person before this, and I can speak a little bit more openly now, I was for this because we really need to upgrade Jonesboro to be the city that we really want it to be.
And Dr. Coleman, touching on that, you mentioned that now you can speak forward, because obviously before then you couldn't speak out because you actually, along with the other councilmen, had to vote on it. But how did it feel to see the way the vote turned out, 11-1? So pretty much almost unanimous support for it being referred to the people.
You're talking about exciting. It was exciting to have people at large coming to the city council. Matter of fact, for the last 3 or 4 months, it's been very impressive that we finally, not maybe finally, it may be the wrong term, we're getting people that really are concerned about what happens in Jonesboro. And for the city council chambers to be filled up, and then the outside chambers to be filled up, for people to say, hey, we want this now. And now they're ready to vote for it. Man, I'm going to be first in line.
Well, Scott, before you say something, let me just interject this. I may have to make a suggestion for one of those quality of life projects to be a bigger space for the council meetings, maybe like double or triple the capacity. So go ahead and put that on the list. All right, Scott, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. We're in a democracy, and the only way a democracy works is if people show up. And so I totally agree with what Dr. Coleman's saying. Is that when the people show up, good government happens. And so I'm excited to be a part of something that has helped spark that. And the goal of Team Jonesboro initially is to pass a sales tax. But if that's all we do, then we failed. Our real mission is to change the way citizens interact with local government. And what we want to do is we want to create a pathway for involvement, because we just believe that it's just better when people show up.
Well, but not on that. I've been on this program a lot, Scott, and I've always advocated that we deal with taxes. I'm more coming from it from a spiritual perspective. I'm a tither. My wife and I both. We give, and at the same time, I guess taxes doesn't bother me, and I'm sure that I can't speak for everybody, but so tax doesn't bother me to the fact when I want something, I want it.
And Dr. Coleman, go ahead and finish, but then I want to kind of ask a question on that.
And so I tell people, even when I teach in church, I can't make people do what the Bible says. But I love this part of the scripture that says, render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and what unto God what is God. So that's also giving the people freedom to do it if they want to do it or not to do it. So I'm not an advocate to say, you will, or I'm going to make you because I'm a pastor in the community. But at the same time, from an inner peace, man, it's beautiful for me to give back to the church, give back to the community at the same time, so that the community can grow, my children can grow, or your grandchildren can grow, or my grandchildren. My children had the same problem. They had to go someplace else, get the employment that they really wanted because of some of the amenities that we don't have, maybe because we can't get the type of industry in here to help us with these things. So it's just important for me to make these kind of statements.
All right, Dr. Coleman, I have a question. Then I have 2 questions from Quabila. Of course, you mentioned about your stance on taxes, and you've actually have stated this in previous interviews. But it's obvious there is a segment of the community that does not believe in any new taxes. They believe, or would probably love to have many of the taxes they currently pay eliminated. that they're just not in favor of any taxes at all. But what do you say to them? Because at the end of the day, we do have to have things funded, things that people take for granted, such as police and fire protection, which is one of the things that the Team Jonesboro proposal seeks to address.
Well, the first thing I have to do, and I keep using the word spiritual, and even from a human standpoint, I got to respect people regardless of what they think, how they feel. So I'm not going to stand up and argue, especially since it's been in the past to go before. But I'm not going to step and argue with somebody all day long about what they don't like. And matter of fact, I hope nobody don't. I'm not going to step and argue with somebody, from my perspective, trying to sell that. To me, that's why, back to what Scott said, this is a democratic situation. And if they want to vote for it, fine. If they don't, I can't get mad at them for their. But here's the problem I have in this community, period, regardless of who they are. Don't get mad at me because of what I think. If I'm a man enough to say to you something, then let's respect each other on common ground and still fight for the city. So would be my take.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to add to that, too,
Okay.
Just in general regarding the people who are just against taxes in general and sales tax in particular. When you call 911, while a person answers the phone, in reality, a sales tax answers your phone. When you need sidewalks, a contractor might put that in, but the reality is sales tax is the real contractor putting that in, because that is the fuel that funds your community. And if you look at our tax rate compared to others, we are low. I mean, if you look at comparison to Conway, I think that they are a city that is quite a bit smaller in geographical miles, 10,000 less people. They have a budget that's $20 million more than ours. That's more things that they can do. That's more cool amenities. That's more officers. That's better training. That's better everything. I mean, money does not solve everything, but it certainly solves a lot of problems. So to the people, I just say this: you can never look at what you pay. You have to look at what you get for what you pay, and that's why we decided to push this issue.
Well, the other side of the story is that I looked at some statistics yesterday. Being on the school board and other boards, so it's not just city council statistics, school boards. It's a general statistic, period. We probably have the lowest pay in Jonesboro. We have a lot of amenities that we would like to have. We can't have because we don't have enough funds in what we call the ready taxes coming into the city. And so something has to be done, one way or the other, or at the same time. If you want to enjoy where you live, I think that you need to be responsible enough to be a taxpayer in order to do this. I think sometimes it really kind of bothers me, and I have to admit this, that I call it front row pew people are the one that wants all the amenities, but they don't want to put money into to able to do these type things. So I'm sure that's going to get a whole lot of conversation, but that's cool. I'm ready for it.
All right, let's go into our Facebook questions. Kubila says, moving forward, if the tax is voted for, what's the next step? And I'm going to combine the second one. In the waiting period of Election Day, is there still an oversight advisory committee being formed? Well, Kubila, I can answer that one. That is in the process. I believe the Jonesboro Sun actually had a list of names of people who have applied. But what is the next step now?
Well, to me, the next step, once this committee is formulated, I'm kind of want to be able to take the back seat, being on the council, and let the people speak. Once again, let the people speak.
So you're saying you don't want to be one of the two councilmen that's going to be on there?
Well, I don't mind being on much because I've been a fighter all my life. Even when I was stupid on the streets, I was a fighter. So now the Lord has blessed me to be in a position to fight for the right thing. So I don't mind being on that committee, but that's not my call. That's the mayor's call. That's this committee's call. And so if they say, "Well, Dr. Coleman, would you like?" Yes, I would be more than likely to say yes to do this. But I think at the same time, I think the next step for me is to allow that committee to iron out things, allow people to speak publicly from the community. What do you want to have? I'm going to use an example. It might be a small example, but say a swimming pool or an aquatic center somewhere or a museum somewhere. Let this list come in. And then once these lists come in, then we can doctor them to the far a point of asking people, what do you really want? And make a prioritized list. 1 this, 2 this, 3 this, 4 this. So I think that's the next step.
All right. Absolutely, I agree 100%.
Okay, and when is the deadline to apply for the Integrity Council?
Oh, off the top of my head, is it the 18th?
I think it's the 18th.
I think it's July 18th.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and of course, you can go on the City of Jonesboro website if you would like to apply for the Oversight Integrity Council so that you can have a say in how these projects are run. Kubila says, I know the question has been raised at the council meetings. Will there be discussions about what projects the city has already received money for and what projects Team Jonesboro will advocate for?
Well, I think that's an ongoing, always, not sometime. It's not just now for this time. That's an ongoing situation. The difference this time, I think, is more back to what Scott said, a diplomacy of people coming in and voicing their opinion, not just listening to Scott McDaniel, not just listening to Dr. Coleman or any other council person on what we think. What does the community want? And I think that's the missing part that people have not really understand. I'm hearing to a point that, well, one group is going to
put the mic a little closer to you.
One group is going to run something. No, that's not true. Matter of fact, I've had so many calls, even as of yesterday. Dr. Coleman, I'd like to be on the committee. I can't place anybody on the committee. All I can tell them is, look, what you just got to tell them, go online, put your application in, and let it flow from there.
All right, and we have a question from Lee Gerard Evans. Actually, this is more of a comment. He says, we already pay a lot of taxes, make the county wet to bring in tax revenue before we force a new tax on hardworking Jonesboro residents. Why not push for a wet county before we do something like this? Shouldn't the city learn to use its money more effectively first? You can't just throw money at a problem.
So I will address that on the wet county, dry county issue is that it was tried, 4 years ago, and it didn't even make it on the ballot. I mean, it's something that if the people decide that they want to do it, they should sign the papers and get on the ballot and vote. But just making it wet is not a waving a wand kind of situation, and it's something that if you look at the polling on it, a lot of folks disagree with. And lastly, the type of revenue that a wet county will actually bring in, I don't have the numbers, but it's a study that was done, I believe, at ASU a while back. I'll find it. I'll post it on my Facebook. But it pales in comparison to what this tax is going to raise.
Well, the other issue is, and I'm looking at it from another point of view,
sure.
And I'm glad that individual is asking this question. Say that it becomes a wet county. What are you going to do when we don't have enough police? What are you going to do when we not have enough money to hire the people we need to protect the citizens from people that overindulge, rather than say.
Well, looking at his comments, I think, and Mr. Evans, if I'm wrong, please correct me, that by going wet, the revenue from taxes would pay for the officers and things like that.
I understand that. I don't think that's probably enough money, and of course, maybe there may be more people in Jonesboro that want it to be wet and want to buy the alcohol or whatever they want to do. I just don't want every liquor store on every corner. I just don't, and that's what's going to end up happening if we become wet. It's going to take away from, and I have to go with the statement whether people agree with it or not. From a spiritual standpoint, it just really bothers me. I mean, we got enough. It is with people asking for license to have liquor in the different clubs and whatever. But to totally go wet is, and I understand that gentleman's question, and I thank him for asking that question, but, I just have an issue with it.
All right, we have a question from Jerry Morgan, who could not be here, but he is watching on our live feed. He says, Dr. Coleman, we have spoken and all agree that we need to make sure that when this initiative passes, that it makes improvements to all parts of the city. What would be the best way to make sure that we do the best projects for North Jonesboro public meetings, etc.? And that is definitely very important because North Jonesboro, as we all know, tends to be forgotten, and it has its own set of issues and things like that.
Well, I'm beginning to get ready to make a record of my conversations about North Jonesboro that's been totally forgotten. That's one reason I fight so hard for North Jonesboro, but at the same time, I also want North Jonesboro individuals to fight for what they want. So this will give them a chance to stand up this time without so much asking me, but they'll have their freedom to say, well, we're going to vote for this, or if we have public options to talk about these things, they can come and voice their opinions. where a lot of the North Jonesborians have been kind of silent. We've had a couple of individuals on the North Side that I totally respect, like Gary Tate, that comes and voices opinion, these type individuals, but we need more than just Gary Tate coming talking to us about what, so for some reason we think councilpersons can do it all. That is not true. We have 11 other people, something that you alluded to earlier, that makes decisions when we vote. So this time, I think not so much that overriding from the council standpoint, but if citizens come and start voicing their opinion on things that we need on the North Side, I think it would come out to be a lot better.
And to that end, the North Jonesboro Neighborhood Initiative is being resurrected. I know Lachey Robinson is heavily involved with that through the CRDC. In fact, you can also look them up on Facebook. So hopefully NJ and I, along with other stakeholders in North Jonesboro, can push and advocate for things to improve that side of town. Lauren Ispa says, I think that a wet county would be a detriment to the quality of life, whereas the sales tax could be an improvement. We got about a minute and a half if y'all want to respond to that.
Yeah, I just got a text from somebody who actually knew the study that I referenced. Walton School of Business did a study, and Wet County and Cricket County would produce $10 million in total activity. So even if you tax 10% of that, you're only talking about bringing in $1 million. So the reality is, when you look at what a Wet County would bring in terms of revenue and cross-compare that with the problems of it, what you'll find out is that that's just not the solution for what we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve quality of life problems. We're trying to solve public safety problems. That is a revenue problem, and that issue does not bring in enough revenue to solve those problems.
And I definitely agree with that statement.
Absolutely. We're going to get ready to go into a break, but don't leave, whether you're listening on the airwaves or if you're watching on our Facebook Live feed, because we're going to get ready to go to a break. But when we come back from the other side of the break, we are going to have more with members of Team Jonesboro. This is Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Does your child have an entitlement mentality? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. Sometimes kids think they are entitled to many things. Here are some ways to teach your kids the truth about working hard and avoiding a sense of entitlement. First, your child may believe, I deserve a good grade. Teach them that grades aren't given, they're earned, so study hard. Second, your child may believe, I deserve to make the team. Teach them how to practice hard, be determined, and play with integrity. Third, your child may believe, I deserve to come home to a clean house. Teach them to contribute to household chores, such as mowing the lawn or doing the dishes. Make it a team effort, and remember, your family first.
Want to go deeper on this topic? Listen to Mark's podcast. Just go to markmerrill.com to download the Family First podcast.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
Family Minute is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
Help keep KLEK on the air. We are seeking 100 donors to give at least $20 per month, but we are happy with any gift, large or small. Come by our studio at 1411 Franklin Street in Jonesboro. Call us at 870-277-1080 or visit our website, klekfm.org, or you can use Cash App, $KLEKFM, or text KLEK1. Send it to 44321.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
The Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was established on June 28, 1997 by 13 dynamic women who accepted the challenge of chartering the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter. Today, the chapter continues to impact the Jonesboro community by sponsoring programs such as the Sonia D. Williams Scholarship Breakfast, Community Back to School Bash, Delta Academy, Voter Registration Drive, and Autism Awareness. Our focus correlates with the national theme, Joy in Our Sisterhood, Power in Our Voice, and Service in Our Hearts. Our chapter supports Delta's 5-point programmatic thrust: economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. More information about the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is available at www.jonesboroalumnidst.org or via email jonesboroalumni@live.com.
KLEK is starting a new fundraiser which will allow listeners to donate to KLEK while buying groceries. KLEK is a part of the Kroger Community Rewards fundraising program. When shoppers visit a participating Kroger and scan his or her Kroger Plus Shoppers Card, a portion of the savings goes back to KLEK to help keep it on the air. Details on how to sign up for the program are available at KrogerCommunityRewards.com and at KLEKFM.org. This is a KLEK fundraiser.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guests, members of Team Jonesboro. And of course, if you have a question or a comment for either one, we have Reverend Dr. Charles Coleman and Mr. Scott McDaniel. You can give us a call at 870-277-1080, or you can leave your questions or your comments on our Facebook Live feed. And we actually got a few of them, so let's get right to it. Lauren Isbell says, okay, I already read them. Lee Gerard Evans says dry counties are a relic from the 1920s prohibition. If we really want to move forward, we have to get rid of a law that most cities did literally 100 years ago. Fayetteville is a college town that's wet, and there are almost no bad parts of town. Dry counties increase drunk driving and just make the county line liquor store owners rich. Skip Kelly says you can't get much wetter than Jonesboro already is. Alcohol is served at private clubs and restaurants. It might as well be wet.
So let me add to that real fast. We're not talking. Team Jonesboro has no position on a wet county, one way or the other. That's not what this is about. All I was doing was correcting the record as far as the revenue that a wet county could bring in, counterbalance against the problems. I believe in Jonesboro, you could have a wet county debate anytime you want to. I don't think this is the appropriate time to do it, though.
I don't think it's the proper time. I don't think that that's what this is about. And I do, once again, respect anybody that called and asked questions. But I think Team Jonesboro is in that process of dealing with that perception. But I would make one statement. Since I used to live in the western Arkansas and lived in Fayetteville for a while, you got to understand the makeup of Fayetteville. To the fact you got Walden organization, you got organizations up there that have put a little bit more money in than we have in Jonesboro. So that's all I will add to that statement. But at the same time, respecting whoever asked the question.
And speaking of Fayetteville, there have been some comments that have been put out there like, well, if y'all like Fayetteville so much, you always talk about what they have and what we don't have. Why don't y'all just move there? What, Scott? What do you say when you hear something like that?
Well, first of all, let me say this. I did live there for a while. I went to college there, and I came back home. I love home. Move there. That's one of the most disrespectful things you could ever say to somebody. Just because you have a desire to change something for the better, just because that's move there. That's crazy. Okay, well, if you don't like it, move away. If we win this. We would never say that. That's crazy to say to somebody. That's just wrong. You know what I'm saying is if you don't like this thing, don't vote for it. That's fine. We like it. We like the idea. We're not trying to compare ourselves to Fayetteville. We're not trying to be Fayetteville. We're just trying to change Jonesboro for the better. And if you think this would do that, vote for us. If you think it won't, vote against us, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. I lived in Fayetteville too, and I graduated from Fayetteville. A lot of people didn't know that. They thought I was just graduated graduated from Arkansas State University, but that was my first school. And actually, my relatives are from Fayetteville. My mother and my aunt lived there. But at the same time, I'm from Fort Smith originally. My wife is from Fort Smith, and we decided to live here in Jonesboro. Jonesboro is probably, in my personal opinion, and this is my personal opinion, probably one of the better cities that you can move in the southern states. We don't have some of the crime that people do have, but I guarantee you it's going to happen if we don't do something a little bit more strenuous than we're doing now. And I think that's what we're trying to get at, because I've been asked a question. I might as well go ahead and open this question up, a statement up too, because people have asked, well, where are you going to put the money? And this has been my statement, that the money will not go in the general fund. The money will be put in different pockets so that it will be spent, so that it'll be equitable, and people will have something to say about it. And I say this to everybody. One of the things that and then we've also had people that wanted us, since we've already voted for it, but I still have to make the statement, want us to split it. You can't do that. You can't have parks and have not the adequate police department or adequate strenuous information there to help people out that are coming into this town, because when they come in this town, you might sound like it's just the police that's protecting them, but guess what? We are protecting them by paying our taxes.
And speaking of the police and crime, you mentioned that crime, while we do have crime, it's not where as bad as it could be, as you said, if the tax doesn't pass. But a lot of times when there's an incident reported with the police department, one of the first things you see in the comments is Little Memphis, Little Chicago, Little Blytheville, Little Helena. Basically, these comparisons to these places that have more crime rates. And this is my personal opinion, not of the station, I think that's code speak when those things are said. But what is you all's response to that? Because the police and fire, this is a big part of the Team Jonesboro proposal.
Well, two things. Number one, I don't think we're a Little Blytheville, we're a Little Memphis, we're a little whatever, mainly because of the economic way that we do things in this area. The other thing that you need to understand is that if we don't beef up and keep our fire departments up to a certain liable code, then we're going to pay taxes anyway, because it's going to go back to your property tax.
Yeah, because I think Chief Miller says that they need to build like a couple fire stations like yesterday, in addition to future fire stations to accommodate the growth.
Yeah, they need 2 fire stations right now. If you look at it, it's all about response time. They need to get to your house within 4 minutes to get you out of a fire. And the reality is, if you look at the needs, and they have a 5-year plan, if you look at what's the red part of their map, what you'll see is that those areas, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, and what Chief Miller will say is, how long can you hold your breath, right? Because you're talking about smoke, you're talking about fire, you're talking about literally the difference between life and death. And if we don't pass this, how are we going to build those things? Because there's no money for it. There's no money for it.
Let's get back to Facebook, because Facebook is jumping. Lee Gerard Evans says, yeah, you just want to force poor Jonesboro residents to pay a tax they can't afford. I would be encouraging all my friends and family to vote no. Megan Mitchell Brown says, Lee, do you know what the tax is actually going to be on? Shanquetta Cunningham says, and false comparisons to high minority populations. Skip Kelly says, funding of police and fire departments is great, and I fully support it. Funding quality of life in quotation marks. Projects is more like buying a pig and a poke. It is the city picking winners and losers. I'm very hesitant to support Team Jonesboro's efforts. So my question is, I want to go back to Lee's comment about forcing poor Jonesboro residents to pay a tax they cannot afford.
So the absolute poorest of the poor, not the poorest of the poor, but if you're on assistance, this tax will not affect you, because I don't think that, especially at the grocery store. The average, if you look at the average median income in the which I believe is $40-something thousand, and if you look at the average disposable or dispensable income after that, I think it's 30% of that. You have roughly $30,000 $10,000 of dispensable income for the average person. Long story short is that person will pay $107 more a year. They'll pay $8.90-something cents a month for this. In exchange for that, they're going to get a safer city. If you want to look at the number one tax on economically disadvantaged people, and that answer is crime. And that's end of story. Is that there is a one-to-one relationship between the economically disadvantaged and their propensity to be a victim of crime, and so this will go a long way towards that. And like I always say, it's never what you pay, it's what you get for what you pay. And the last thing I want to add to that is that we have a very low sales tax. And somehow other cities are able to pay a little bit more. Somehow Poinsett County pays more, Greene County pays more. Somehow these other cities are able to make it. I think the effect, I don't want to take a dollar out of anybody's pocket just because, but I do believe that the effect is somewhat overstated, especially when you compare it to what other communities are able to accomplish, and when you look at what you actually get for what you pay. That's my statement.
And I'll go ahead, Dr. Cole.
The only thing I would add to that, and I want to be mild with this statement, regardless of whether it's voted in or voted out, in 10 years or maybe less, I'm going to say 5, we're going to have a Jonesboro that people are going to really have problems with if we don't have the proper forces to deal with anything. You made a statement a while ago about people saying little Memphis, little Blytheville, little whatever. Chicago. Well, guess what? 5-6 years from now, I guarantee you that might happen if we don't do something to reinforce our emphasis as far as getting police department beefed up, retrained. I'm an advocate of police getting retrained better than they are now, and I don't mind saying that because I've talked to the chief of police a couple of times, and he and I agree with that we need better officers going out and more educated officers going out because I have complained about some things. Personally, I won't voice it on radio, but at the same time, I think there need to be a little bit more adequate training. And a lot of times you can't do that. We don't have the time. Right now, we're training individuals on what I call a short-term training. That's unfair to the community.
And Scott, I want to ask you this question because there have been some people who say, well, why should this be something that the government get involved in? Why not encourage private industry to bring these things to town instead?
Well, so first of all, I would say most private industries are you're talking about like the Walton Foundation grants and so forth. They're matching. I mean, you can get matching money, but only if you bring money to the table. And as far as private industry, I mean, you want private parks? Do people really want private parks? Because private parks look a lot like country clubs. Private parks are going to be exclusive. They're going to be expensive. The reality is that if you are somebody who believes that public as a whole should not be involved in things like sidewalks and parks and amphitheaters and volleyball complexes and et cetera, I mean, this tax isn't for you. And there's nothing I can do to make, because you have a fundamental difference of opinion on the way a city ought to be managed and ran, and I will personally disagree with you and debate you on that fact, because what would happen if Cricket Forest Park was private? What would that do? Well, if Allen Park was private and Parker Park was private, I mean, you don't want these things to be private. You don't. And furthermore, if that even existed, that's all that presupposes that that's an option. Superman hasn't come yet. What makes you think it's going to come now? This thing will not happen without public money. It won't happen.
Judy Castile says $8 a year, average a year more, and only half of that $4 actually will fund quality of life issues. Sounds like a pretty good return on our dollars for me. Shanquetta says, why do you think it's beneficial to categorize public safety and community attractions in the same process? Yes, it's all key quality of life, but it would seem public safety will not hold the same weight to entertainment as a priority.
Well, so it's like this. It's not a matter of that. It's if you look at quality of life, if you Google quality of life, what you'll find is, you're going to find that if you ask 100 people, you'll get 500 answers. But you're going to really boil it down to a handful of things: jobs, education, amenities, safety, that sort of thing. The reality is that it's the same thing, and that's why it's the same tax. The reason why it's earmarked half and half is because we want the public to know if if it was, one or the other, just kind of fight for the budget. And well, at that point in time, the public doesn't know if they're going to get any quality of life amenities, or if you're going to be able to get any public safety amenities. We think that a 1% sales tax is enough to fund both sides of that equation. Funding it equitable is the choice that we made, and again, that's why we did it, because you cannot separate public safety and quality of life. They are the same thing.
Martha Willis May says change that is brought about through grassroots effort is best. Okay, what I want to ask now, because we've had so many comments, and we definitely appreciate all those comments and questions. Definitely keep them coming, but let's talk about the next steps. You all mentioned that there will be town halls and there'll be other events planned to where you can get your information out, have other forums in which people can ask questions, air their concerns. So what is the latest update on that, and what can we expect to see next from Team Jonesboro between now and September 10th?
So we spoke to Jonesboro Limited yesterday, to their Turning Point group. We're talking to, I believe, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee at lunch today. We have Rotary in the morning and Lions in the evening. We want people, we want to talk to as many people as we possibly can. If you have an organization, a group, if you want to sit down over coffee, go to the website, teamjonesboro.com. Fill out the contact us form or whatever, and just reach out. We'll put you on the schedule. There's enough of us. Our goal is to be everywhere between now and September the 10th, because we want to have this conversation with the people, and we're going to schedule town halls. We want to be in front of as many people as possible, as often as possible. So please reach out to us.
And by the way, these meetings that we're going to have in the community, we want all peoples to come. Those that are negative and positive, because
Absolutely.
There's some things that we might be able to learn that we have not said or have not put in. So I guess I'm liking the statement of being open-minded to all contacts, all information that people want to bring in, because if they think that we have a one-time fix for everything and that we know everything, that's an absolute miss as far as I'm concerned. So that's why I'm loving this, even today, this conversation, to the fact that the negatives are good, the good are good. Because to me, it's just a learning process, and you learn from everybody. That at least I have in my tour of life. I learn from everybody. I just don't learn just from the positive. I also learn from the negative too at the same time.
Kubila says, from a sociological perspective, when individuals and communities have access to facilities or spaces to host programs, there's potential to boost morale and positive engagement. This leads to my question. Is it possible for a portion of the funds to be used to secure the spaces we already have, such as the community centers? Many nonprofit organizations want to do more. However, finding an affordable space to host free events can be challenging.
Yes, absolutely. So. Yeah. The way that's written is capital improvements, existing and new. So yeah, for sure.
I want to say something, maybe a little off the record to a point here. I really like Quivilla when the question that she asked. It shows me the type of individual that she thinks beyond herself. And I really would love to have her on a lot of committees that I'm working with, because when I hear her speak or when I hear her questions, it just it rouses me to do better or want to do better, because she's not asking in a detrimental way. She's asking in a way that's opening up an issue, open up a situation. So I just want to make sure my shot go out to her to get better and for her to understand.
IQ, you heard this, so you've been challenged. So now you got to join every committee that Dr. Coleman recommends you for. See, he didn't recommend me; he recommended you. So hey, it's all good though.
Sorry about that.
No. Hey, I couldn't be more proud of Kubila and all the hard work she does for KLK. She definitely is an angel that God has sent to us. And she says, I would be happy to put my sociology degree to use. All right, so Scott, you mentioned at the first part of the program that there was some misinformation that was put out there. Do you want to kind of touch on that and respond to that?
Oh, man. I do not know. I don't want to give it any more legs than what it already has, but there was talk about, is it really a 12% tax?
Yeah, I heard it was it 1 cent versus 1%?
So 1%. So the 1 cent, 1%, those things kind of go hand in hand in the sense of it's 1 cent on the dollar. So every dollar you spend, it's 1 penny more. So that's why they say sometimes 1 cent and 1% interchangeably. I was talking more about some of the stuff that was said during the city council meetings from some opposition. Some of it hit the paper regarding, is this really a 12.75% tax increase? And it's not. No matter how much you finagle the numbers, 1% sales tax is 1%. You will pay 1 penny more for every dollar that you pay. But I don't want to talk negative. We're gonna run a positive campaign.
Well, that's fine. I got a question from Shanquetta. When I worked at the city, there were and still are long-term plans that have already categorized community wish lists and have a price tag associated, such as Vision 2030, CDBG, Parks and Rec. Have those been referenced, or will a new list emerge from the appointed group should the tax pass?
Well, ultimately, that's up to the Oversight Integrity Council. I think it would be foolish to reinvent the wheel. You should certainly look at what's already been done before and then add to it as well with more information. Vision 2030, was that 10 years ago?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
But I think those type of things are to be approached as come, not go back.
Yeah, right.
Those things approach to come if we can lift those things that have been already in place. I think that's good. But at the same time, I don't want to just focus on things that we've already participated in, or that we're going to try to spend more money. And I think that this is a round table in my mind from the total community spend. I think what's really been lost in all the conversation, this really is going to be coming from the communities effort. So that's just a committee that's going to be forwarding information that's coming really from the community. I think that's been lost in this whole scenario of conversation, that the community, is going to be more important in this than me and Scott sitting up here talking today. And I think that's where I'm excited about.
And I think in response to that, I think a lot of that could be potentially because the word tax was a trigger word. And once you heard tax, people's emotions automatically came into play and didn't think about anything else. We're going to get ready to go into our next break, but once again, do not go anywhere. Thank each and every one of you for tuning in so far. Appreciate all the comments and the questions. Keep them coming. I'm loving this discussion, and we will be back with more. This is Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. A marriage license may join two people together for matrimony, but their credit remains separate. The game changes, however, if accounts are opened jointly, with each person as a co-applicant. People often apply for credit jointly when making a major purchase, such as of a car or a home, that requires two sources of income to support the loan. In this case, one person's low credit score may hinder the approval, or if the lender extends the credit, it may be at a higher interest rate. Fortunately, if two people marry, one with good credit and one with iffy credit, there is a way to legitimately improve the credit of the not-so-fortunate party. Adding a person onto an account as an authorized user allows the credit history to be reported in both the authorized user's name and the primary account holder's name. Over time, as long as credit is handled responsibly, this will positively impact both credit reports. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization focused on joy in our sisterhood, power in our voice, and service in our hearts. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
Money Matters is brought to you by the Gears Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing students with assistance in their academic and career pursuits. Gears Foundation on Facebook, Gears_Inc. on Instagram, and the Gears Foundation at gmail.com.
The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was established on January 1st, 1977, originally serving Blytheville, Arkansas, and now serving Jonesboro, Blytheville, Osceola, Marion, and West Memphis, Arkansas. Today, the chapter continues continues to make an impact by focusing on Alpha's national community outreach initiatives such as My Brother's Keeper, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, Go to High School, Go to College, Project Alpha, Boy Scouts, and the March of Dimes. The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is committed to Alpha's mission of developing leaders, promoting brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy to the community. More information about the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is available at MOL Alphas on Facebook or via email at molalphas@gmail.com.
Hello, I'm Officer Victoria Evans. I have always had a desire to help others in need and to be an example and role model to young women by encouraging them to never give up on their dreams. My dream was to become a police officer and to serve my community. In 2016, that dream became a reality, and it is the most rewarding experience of my life. Now I want to let you know about the same opportunity. The Jonesboro Police Department will conduct testing every month for patrol officers. Applications are available online at jonesboropolice.com or at the Police Department, 1001 South Caraway Road. The Jonesboro Police Department offers a competitive salary, health, and retirement benefits, top-of-the-line training, and most importantly, the chance to make a difference in the Jonesboro community. Join me in making Jonesboro a better place. The Jonesboro Police Department is an equal opportunity employer, and women and minorities are especially encouraged to apply. More information is available at 870-935-5657.
This portion of KLEK programming can be made possible by your business. Your support will help in educating, entertaining, and empowering the community by supporting local talent, serving the community you love, and providing information on issues you care about from a different perspective. Call 870-203-9951 or visit klekfm.org to learn how we can help connect you more with the community, or visit us at 1411 Franklin Street. KLEK 102.5 Jonesboro, educating, entertaining, and empowering the community.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, Reverend Dr. Charles Coleman and Mr. Scott McDaniel of Team Jonesboro. And of course, if you have a comment or a question for either one, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080 or leave your questions or comments on our Facebook Live feed, in which we have one. Shanquetta says, I know that there are others, but Scott, you have been the face, in parentheses, of this process, and it's definitely come with some blows your way. I definitely applaud you for the willingness to meet and speak with anyone, including myself, and share the goals of what Team Jonesboro is trying to do.
Thank you. I enjoyed the conversation as well, and anytime you want to have another one, let me know, because this has been, sure, there's been some blows, man, but I got to tell you, just getting to meet the people that I've already met, I mean, in gambling terms, I'm on house's money right now because I've already grown personally from all these conversations and just the experiences of it. And yeah, man, that alone has been fantastic. So for me, I look at the positives as opposed to the negatives.
And absolutely, and I can definitely say that you all have kept a positive attitude. Of course, when I do these interviews, it's my job to put everything out there, including what the opposition says, to give you all the opportunity to respond to it. But at the end of the day, like I always say, even though we can't tell you whether to vote for it or to vote against it, but we definitely strongly encourage you to research the issue and to reach out to these people. And Scott has said, he said off the record, but I'm sure he said on the record, that he will meet anybody for coffee, whether you are for it or against it. So take him up on that offer, meet with him, and then decide whether you want to support it or not support it. But the key is, 1, educate yourself, and then 2, and most importantly, September 10th, step into the voting booth and vote.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got about 6-7 minutes left. So anything that we didn't talk about, anything that you want to stress to the listeners and the viewers?
Well, the only thing that I really want to stress is the voting aspect. You know, usually we have also a great number, which I use the term bothers me a little bit, that have not even registered to vote. And so I don't know what the total procedure is right now on hand, but I think that those that have not registered should try to find out whether it's in September or whatever. But I think from this day on, hopefully from this particular program that we're talking about today, that we have people to get more involved in the voting aspect, more involved in coming to the city council. That's been one of my entertaining statements ever since I've been on the council. Please come. We want you to come. We want to hear both sides of events or situations, because once again, Scott made a statement a few minutes ago that he's grown behind. Well, guess what? We're still growing. We're still trying to understand some things. This is just a starting of something that I think is totally positive for the community, whether the community wants it or not. But at the same time, we won't know. I would hate for it to pass or not pass, and then all of a sudden you come out with all these statements. Then go ahead and vote and come to some of these forums that's going to be put out, or talk to Scott or whoever, so that we can really level this thing out, so people will have a better feeling, and once again, a better communication, whether they want it or not, so that we can be a better Jonesboro. We keep talking about, Channel 8 says it all the time, but I think from a personal standpoint, we are already a better Jonesboro if we try to work together.
Without question. Regarding the vote, I think you have roughly until August 2nd, give or take. So let's call it the end of July, just to put a little bit of margin in there to register to vote. If you register to vote somewhere else, I think you can do it within 5 days before the election, but let's just be safe. Let's say August 15th. So if you're not registered to vote, get registered to vote before July 31st. If you're registered to vote somewhere else, change that over before August 15th, and then you're safe. You go to the county clerk's office. That's go see Kate Holliday over at the county courthouse. Parking's across the street over at the old Iberia Bank parking lot. Walk across the street. Go talk to the good people in the courthouse, and they're nice people. You fill out a little form, and then after that you can vote. Here's the reality. The reality is that this is your city. But for it to be your city, you have to do a handful of things. You have to show up. And you have to get involved, and you have to vote. And that's all we want. Just show up, get involved, and vote. And then grab an oar, start rowing, man. This is your city. It's yours. Take it.
Absolutely. I did have one quick question because we are talking about the election. What is your response, Scott, to people say, why a special election? Why not make it part of the general?
Yeah, so, think about that for a second. I've been on here 3 times. Mm-hmm. This is my third, we've been on here 3 times. I've been on here twice. How many above the fold stories has there been in the Jonesboro Sun? 5, 6, 7? How many KIT reports? 3, 4, 5, 6, 8? How many Talk Business? How many?
Y'all been everywhere.
Everywhere. That would not happen during a Trump primary. That would not happen during a general election. We would be buried at the bottom of a ballot.
Absolutely.
And this is the biggest news story in town, and the only reason why is because it's the only game in town right now. And so that's why we're doing a special election. It's important. Special issue, special election.
Hey, definitely makes sense. Dr. Coleman, you have any final comments?
I'm just happy to always be able to try to lift Jonesboro and the people of Jonesboro. I think that, I say it more than people want to hear sometimes, but really Jonesboro is a great place to live. And I think it can be even a greater place. But I'm also looking for more continuity of communicating with individuals, not people that's throwing a rock and hiding their hand. That really is an irritating thing for me, that, people gripe, but, they get in your face and say one thing and do another. But if you start working on common ground from all ethnic standpoints and all citizens standpoint, I guarantee you Jonesboro will probably be better than some of the places that they're thinking about that we should go up. They want to send us. And so I think if we get together in Jonesboro, it'll be a lot better.
Let's get into some shout-outs from some of the people who have been tuned in throughout the hour. Jerry Morgan, Judy Castillo, Skip Kelly, Gene Berry, Megan Mitchell-Brown, our very own Kubila Jones, Amberly Knowlton-Hales, and Kuwasi Ken Daily. I know I probably totally butchered that.
Can I shout out to one of those people?
Sure.
Gene Berry's my friend from Ireland. What's up, Gene? I'm glad you tuned in from Ireland.
Well, hey, we can put a pin by Ireland of people who have listened to KLEK. 45 seconds, guys.
Well, just thank you for allowing us to be here to express our opinion. And again, we do value everybody else's opinion.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You will see a lot more of us. Please vote. Please register.
September 10th is the day of the election. As Scott said, get registered to vote. If you're not registered, you got until the end of July. If you are registered with someone else, you got till about the middle of August. Of course, KLK, we're not going to tell you which way to vote, but we definitely strongly encourage you to vote. Because remember, if you don't vote, someone else is going to make the decision for you. This is All Gospel Wednesday. We got great gospel music all day long. Our own Brother Cops will join us at the top of the hour. You guys have a great and blessed day. This is KLK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
Broadcasting from the First National Bank Tower, this is KLEK LP Jonesboro.